Ohio State's got 2 home games left on its 2025 regular season schedule, and up first is a game against UCLA, a team that they have not played since the early 2000s. In fact, they've played 9 times ever. Both sides have won 4 games, and they've tied 1 time. And UCLA actually hasn't been to Columbus since 1999. And these are our game scores. I'm Stephen. That's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis. Stefan, starting with you. Ohio State favored by 31.5 points over under 47.5. What's your score?
Sticking with old reliable, Ohio State to cover and the under. I'm going. I actually might have predicted this recently, and it was wrong. I'm taking the Minnesota score again, 42-3. Ohio State wins. I think UCLA will be able to do enough with Nico's mobility to get points on the board, but that's the extent of what I think this offense is going to do. I think Ohio State is going to have success running the ball against a bad rush defense. I think Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, C.J. Donaldson, James Peoples are going to have some chances to break some big plays. I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw a defensive touchdown or at least a few takeaways with, Nico and the UCLA offense being prone to having some turnovers. So, keep an eye on the defensive line, forcing fumbles, or the secondary getting some interceptions. But I think Ohio State's kind of going to have its way, right? I think it's going to be a cool environment. I think Ohio State knows, the importance of putting on a show when you do get a November night game, right? That's rare to see at Ohio Stadium, especially with, this team being projected to have a bye. We probably won't see a December home game. So this is kind of the last, night game of the home slate this season, a chance to really put on a show. And I think Ohio State will try to do that. So I think Ohio State cruises, has very little difficulty, and goes into Rutgers week with a lot of momentum. 42-3, Ohio State wins.
42-3. I had 41-3. And I'm just going to retweet everything else you said because that's why. I just think Ohio State might score at will. It doesn't mean they might not kick some field goals in this game. I'm just not picking them to score a bunch of touchdowns in this game. But, Ohio State covers. But the under, which has worked for most of the year, it almost worked last week until the second teamers gave up a random touchdown at the end of this thing. Gillis, are you joining us on the trend? Covering and under.
Ohio State's going to cover. And it's going to go over 42-7. 42-7. UCLA is going to score a touchdown. I don't mean to be condescending. UCLA is just not that good. I think Ohio State's going to try to play slow, and it's not going to work. And that's going to be because I think they're going to break a run or two. UCLA's run defense is horrible. I truly think they are. I think they're in for a rough ride. Like, I think if you were to start with Ohio State and say, like, all right, baseline minimum, they're gonna score 5 touchdowns this game. It's basically what happens like on their other 3, give or take, possessions. Whether this goes, I think, to a cover or to an over. I do think UCLA is going to show up. Like we saw this with the Penn State game. I think they're going to show up and try a lot. I think they kicked the onside kick early in that game. I think they're going to try some stuff. Let's put it like that. I think they're going to try to reach into their pocket and just kind of have some fun, frankly. I mean, this is going to be officially the game that means they're not bowl eligible. Like, I think they're well aware of what's going to happen. So I look at UCLA as a team that might pull something out of their back pocket, and it's like, oh, okay, UCLA scored. All right, there's 7, and then that's going to be all they get. I think Ohio State, even if, you can look at and say, oh, well, I'm going to go under because they're going to play slow. Well, okay, they might not take a deep shot, but if you're calling run plays or you're calling slant plays and somebody houses one for 70 yards, well, it doesn't matter if you called the deep shot to JJ or if you just ran inside zone to Bo Jackson. It's still a 70-yard touchdown. So Ohio State blows UCLA out. It's 42-7. I do think we go over. I think Ohio State covers once again. They're one of the better covering teams in college football, but I do think we buck the trend a little bit, and I think we go over.
You guys want to hear some standings, some records for where you guys are? How good you guys aren't at this? Cool. Okay, so we'll start with the game records. Stefan and I are 9-0. Gillis is 8-1, and that's because he picked Texas to win week 1. That's not that big of a deal. That was a hit or a miss, right? Records against the spread. Yours truly is 8-1. Let's go. I've been cooking, man. I've been cooking. You two, however, Stefan, you're 7-2. Gillis, you are 6-3. I'm gonna be honest with you. Purdue killed you guys last week. That was tough. That was a tough watch for you two. because it's a lot of it isn't because of your records. It's because of the tokens you guys have been putting up every single week. I actually bet the under last week in a lot of tokens because I just didn't think Ohio State was going to go full throttle. It had nothing to do with Purdue and whether or not they'd cover or not. It was a combination of, I'm not sure if Ohio State's going to cover because they might not go full throttle, but also they just might not score a lot of points. So I put like 35 Buckeye Talk tokens and it ended up showing me love. Over under, I'm 5-4. Stefan is 6-3. Gillis is 4-5. Yeah, that's tough. How many tokens we have left? And again, we start with 100 at the beginning of the year. I have 210. Stefan has 142. Gillis.
I've been betting big.
Yeah, you've been going hard.
Bet big. So you guys picked under last week against Purdue, and I heard that and went, I should probably throw a lot on over.
Yeah, I know. This is what happens. Like, I hope you guys are getting a look into the mind of Gillis as a bettor. He chases. And as he chases, now he's got 76 Buckeye Talk tokens left for the rest of the year, which isn't terrible, right? You're 24 under. So you can make that up this week, but he's going to chase because that's what he does. He chases. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes we're on a subway station headed to dinner watching Penn State against Oregon, and it just completely backfires. But that's a story for another day. Get the text 614-350-3315. We might tell that story there. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. That will get you through the UCLA game, the Rutgers game, and into Michigan week. We're almost home. The home stretch is almost there. Those are our game scores as Ohio State takes on UCLA this Saturday. For Stefan Krajisnik and Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means. Talk to you guys later.